Well, Michelle Grattan, good morning.
Good morning, Stephen.
You cover a lot of ground in your Grattan on Friday column, which I suppose is emblematic of a busy and somewhat confusing week as Parliament resumed. The renewable energy target is back in the news. This is the aim to source 20% of electricity from renewables by 2020. At present, it seems we're overshooting the target on an annual rate. And if I understand what is going on, the speculation is that incentives for renewables might be wound back in a way that will favour fossil fuels. Firstly, is this right?
Yes, that is right. The review has essentially said that the renewable sector does not need as much cross-subsidy as has happened under the scheme, and that while it contributes to the reduction of emissions, it does so at a higher cost than is desirable. It's a report that is really devastating for the renewable sector, and it does favour the fossil fuel energy generators. Now, this is all in the context of demand for electricity falling, and so of course everyone in the fossil fuel generation industry is being somewhat squeezed by that into the future, and the renewables have been growing strongly, and therefore it's going to be a quite tight market.
Don't we want demand for electricity to fall? Isn't that the point?
Well, we do from the point of view of the environment, but from the point of view, of course, of the generators, it's rather another story.
I was naively thinking of the environment. Secondly, why take this on as a battle? The government's got enough battles as it is. Does it need to open up a new front?
I think it's very foolish to take this on. I think that renewables are very popular in the community. The surveys demonstrate that, and you only have to go around and look at the solar panels on people's roofs these days. So it's not going to be at all a popular battle. Many businesses in the solar area are small businesses and would therefore have big voices, I think, in terms of community reaction to shifting things in this way. And of course there's been a lot of investment in the industry. It's a sunrise sort of industry. We want that sort of investment, but to be then chopping and changing and saying, well, no, we really don't want that sort of investment is very disconcerting, I think, and of course there have been claims that it raises questions of sovereign risk.
And Clive Palmer has said that he wouldn't support a change to the target on this side of the election. So is the government just giving Clive Palmer another reason to show that he's influential and to say no to things?
Well, it does underline the fact that changing the target, or trying to, is probably a futile exercise in the next couple of years. And if the government does go ahead with doing this, and all the indications are that it wants to, then I think it demonstrates that it is driven by ideology. And also, of course, Tony Abbott is quite fond of the coal industry. He has made several references to it in recent times, and saying that essentially, you know, no fossil fuel should be demonised, I suppose, is what he's saying. He doesn't use those words. But I think it would be those sorts of factors that would be driving a decision rather than more sensible political calculations.
Switching to the other side of politics and to another issue, Bill Shorten has had to close down one of his senators who's suggested that the focus on Iraq and ISIS and security matters might be a deliberate distraction technique by the government to avoid focus on the budget. Does Bill Shorten have any choice other than to stay close to the government and present a completely united front on national security matters?
I don't think he believes he does, and we've seen on a number of areas touching national security that he has been very anxious to emphasise bipartisanship. Of course, a commitment of Australian military forces to active service is something of a test for the Labor Party, but all the signs are that Bill Shorten would embrace that. Quite a contrast, of course, to years ago when the Iraq War was previously on and Labor was against that commitment. That opposition, I think, was quite costly for the then leader, Simon Crean. He used to have trouble trying to differentiate opposing the war but supporting the troops that were in that war, and when he was at farewell ceremonies and so on. Now, in this case, it's being said there will be no boots on the ground. It's a bit easier but for the Labor Party to support it, but it's still quite controversial in certain sections of the Labor Party. However, the left generally seems to be more or less on board.
Well, finally, Michelle, we'll meet again in a week. Do you think by then there will have been actual military action by Australian forces?
I think it's still hard to judge the exact timetable for this, but I think that there is no doubt that the Australian government is saying, yes, we will be there. Tony Abbott has made the point that there's not been an invitation, but the way these things work is you work out the deal first, you give the acceptance first, as it were, before you get the formal invitation. So the formal invitation really is just a matter of the protocols. Certainly all the signs are that Australia is ready and willing to be part of whatever action is going.
Well, it seems to be a desperate situation, and we'll see. Thank you very much, Michelle.
Thank you, Stephen.